Kaguya was hosting a party that involved a lot of treasures. Moku said it was boring. Kaguya hosted her own personal treasures. Somebody stole it. And that's the whole story. Hey there, people of the internet world, it's Kibatsu, and welcome to Let's Play Lost Branch of Legend. I guess it's technically called Touhou Lost Branch of Legends, but you know what? I'm just calling it that because I don't see the Touhou part. I mean, it is Touhou, but you know, it's just called Lost Branch of Legends. So, yeah, this game exists because of, yeah, because Kaguya wanted to do something, and she was jealous that Moku decided to say something. She really is kind of petty that way, isn't she? Well, this is Lost Branch of Legends, though. This is Slay the Spire, but not Slay the Spire. This is the Touhou version of Slay the Spire. And yeah, Slay the Spire 2, while I'm recording this, has been out for a month or two, and yeah, it's a fun game. But I'm a Touhou nerd, and this is my bread and butter. So yeah, I'm just gonna play the Touhou version instead. So yeah, Slay the Spire version though, if you're not aware of that or haven't heard of it lately, Slay the Spire is a kind of a roguelike game where you choose cards, you play cards, you hope for the best, and that's it. That's essentially all you gotta do. Yeah, kind of boring that way, but you know, we kind of take what we get in this kind of situation. It's a lot more exciting that way, I promise you, but we gotta get to the game to actually show off how good it is. To say that I actually like this game, let's just say I put in some time. Yeah, maybe not as much as some of the other hardcore fans that have played this game quite a bit, but I have put in quite a bit of time. So I like to think I know what I'm doing in this situation, but, you know, I still have ways I can learn how to play the game, how to make the game better, this and that and whatnot. There's also mods that have come up to this game that introduce more characters, more monsters, more exhibits, and etc, etc. But I am playing through the vanilla version simply just to show like what kind of game this is going to be. And yeah, let's see how many people actually know about this, like this, or may know about this as we go on. I will start by saying first off, there is a Discord that is dedicated to Lost Branch of Legends, and by the time I am recording this, they have had the last character released a year ago. So it's been a while since we had like a really big update, but there's still quite a bit here that I think you can get a lot of repetitive play out of it, because that's what this game is. It's like, it's simple, it's kind of dumb, but it's fun, and you get a lot of dumb fun things out of it, which I'll hopefully get to show when we actually get started with this. So let's not waste enough time let's not waste any more of your time watching this video and actually get started then, shall we? So, to start things off, we started a new run here, and we have a choice of 5 characters, not including Alice here, because Alice is not available yet. Sad to say. But she does have her, you know, dolls, so she's not lonely at least. So, for the 5 characters, we have Marissa, who is black and red. We have Reimu, who is red and white. White. Yeah, I'm a little bit bitter about this being white, of all things considered. I think it's based off the Magic the Gathering colors, so this is technically the white color. But yeah, it's freaking yellow, guys. Come on, it's yellow. I'm bitter about this for no reason other than like it's just wrong, and I don't like it when things are deliberately wrong like that. That's a topic for another time, though. So aside from Reimu here, we have Kaguya, who is white. I'll get over it eventually. Don't worry. We have white and blue. We have Cirno, or Chiruno, as if you want to be analytical about it, who is blue and green. And then we finally have Koishi, who was added last year, who is green and black. So every character has a focus of 2 particular colors. They have 2 of each, but depending on which deck you use for each, they have 1 extra of that color. So Marissa can have an extra black or an extra red, and Cirno can have an extra blue or an extra green. This actually is kind of important because they have cards that are dedicated to their specific gimmicks. And each character has about maybe 2 or 3 gimmicks to their characters, which makes them more fun depending on how you want to play. For the sake of just making things easy and showing off how it can be pretty simple to get things started, I'm starting with Reimu, and I'm starting with her red exhibit. For Reimu, she has 2. Each one has a different spell card, a different exhibit, and a different deck. And different decks having different cards to go with it. Every deck will always have a shoot and a boundary, which is 5 damage and 5 blocks each. And then they also have their own versions of dealing 10 damage and gaining 10 block. But they also come with their own particular special card that is dedicated to the gimmick of the deck. We'll go over all this as we get to the game itself. So yeah, we'll get started with that. So like I said, the basic and most easy of this complex game that we're going to be playing is the red Reimu. So we're going to start with the red Reimu there. Now, I have done this a lot before, so I have beaten all of these difficulties before. With easy mode, you can start with one of Kaguya's treasures. Kaguya's treasures is a very powerful treasure that makes the game a lot easier, simply put. But it's kind of, easy mode. You don't really need to be on easy mode on any game. I'm barely going by on normal mode on a lot of Touhou games, so I'm happy with just not being easy, But yes, easy, normal, hard, or lunatic. I've been playing a lot on lunatic because I would say it gives me a challenge, but it's also still fun. But it changes the game up a lot when you go from normal to hard to lunatic. I don't say it's too hard, but it makes the game different. You have to behave towards the monsters and the bosses and such very differently. But for the sake of showing off what this game is going to be like, we're going to start on normal mode. You can also choose if you want to reveal the fate or have an unknown fate. Now, this doesn't necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things. You can use reveal or unknown fate. If you want to have a little more mystery, or if you want to have a more randomized run, unknown fate is probably the preferred way to do it. And free mode and story mode. Story mode, essentially, you go through the story, and that's it. So, have fun with that one. Some areas are fixed enemies, some friendly encounters are banned. So, story mode is interesting. I think I'll go ahead and show that off in the second Reimu run. But just to give an idea on what this game is going to be like, Nah, you know what? We're going to stick with free mode because I want to show off what the game is just going to be like for the rest of this run, essentially. I will show off story mode later. Aside from that, though, we have requests here. Each request is essentially an add-on difficulty for you to add on, and it essentially just gives you more blue points just so you can level up faster. You can go up to level 10 and you'll unlock essentially everything you can unlock. And yeah, these requests get kinda ridiculous. A lot of these may not make sense now, but once we get started, you know what's gonna show up and how hard it's gonna get. But yeah, enough discussing, enough talking. Let's see what normal mode is about. So because Kaguya lost all of her exhibits, Erin comes to you as the main character, rather one of the 5 characters you start with, and she asks you to help out, and she offers her help in multiple ways. The biggest way she can is to give you one advantage, which is various depending on which one you do. In some cases, sponsor, where you gain 100 money, is sometimes the only option. But yeah, it's a bit rough. Let's just say it that way. Getting money is nice, but you know, these other options are pretty fun. You know, it's pretty nice. So one of these options is swap. You lose your starting exhibit, which is this one here, and gain a random shiny exhibit, which is fun. But if you have reveal fate, you can find out what it is, and you know, you can decide if you want to go crazy or go nuts or have fun, whatever. Epiphany, add a random card to the library, which rare cards are going to be very helpful. Like, there's almost no non-helpful rare cards. Put it that way. Rare cards are pretty good in this one. And then recall, from 3 random uncommon cards, choose one to add to the library. For a normal run, I don't think we need to go balls deep into starting a random exhibit, because I still want to show off how the Yin Yang Orb is going to be pretty useful in this one. So let's start with adding a random card, and let's see what we get. Evil Exterminate. We will see what that happens. So remember how Great goes with their gut feeling and tells her to go. So editing also helps you take a pill, a red pill, the blue pill. Normally I say I wouldn't take the red pill, but I don't know. This isn't the Matrix, so I think we're fine there. But in this case, the red pill always gives you 200 power, which you need 200 power to activate a spell card. And you only have a maximum of 2 charges, so you can only hold up to 200 power. And in a lot of runs, a lot of people, I would say, probably would prefer this one, because it just gives you the spell card power that you need to take care of certain enemies. Personally, I usually like to get the blue pill, which is gain 20 maximum life, because maximum life is scarce in Lunatic run. But in a normal run, I don't think it's that big a problem, so I think to show off more of like what the spell card power can do, I'm going to get the red pill to gain 200 power. Reimu feels more powerful. It's time to head out and resolve the incident. So, to start the incident, we start with 4 various paths here. Blue fairies and red fairies, they're just basic enemies you run into. These are events that can take place. These events can be good or bad, depending on how you run into them. And in between them, there's also 3 events you can choose between a gap, a shop, or a boss. These bosses are various, but we have an Act 1, so each act will have a option of 3 bosses you can fight against. And you can only fight up to 3 bosses before you go all the way to the end and fight you know who. Which we'll get to that as soon as we get there. But in between the 4 choices here, you have your selection, which is interesting. You can choose your boss in the first act here. In the first act, we choose our boss from here, which can be various. We'll get to that later. The second intersection, we have Raisin, which she will help you by giving you one of 2 items that you can take with you, or sometimes 2, depending on how you approach her. We'll get to that if we ever get to that one. And then the third interaction is a visit to Yukari, which we'll get to that as soon as we get to that. And you get to all that before we get to the boss of the first act. So, let's go ahead and get started here. So, the fact that Yukari is behind 3 fights is kind of annoying. But this is normal mode, so how bad can it be to go to a boss fight? Or even to kind of shop? Well, it's kind of bad because Reimu starts with only 10 money, and you can't get anything with just 10 money. You really just can't get anything with 10 money. So, I think we can go ahead and go this way to start, so that if we do get more money on the way, we can stop by the shop later. And thus we start our fight. So, with every fight, you draw 5 cards to start with, unless there are cards that give you replenish, which we'll get to that as soon as we get to there. So, we start with 5 cards here. We have 2 blocks, a shoot, a Hakurei Amulet, and Evil Exterminate. In this turn, the next attack card will be played twice. So, that's actually pretty good, because these crows have Graze. Graze lets you dodge 1 attack, unless your attack is accurate. We have a lot of ways to get accurate attacks, which includes your spell cards. And yeah, that's pretty useful in a situation like this. So, before you end your turn, enemies will show you how they will attack. They can do all sorts of things, but the big one is that you see the attack, which is they intend to attack to deal 10 damage, which you can block by using block cards. Block that one, and then use that to block that one. Every time you use a card, you use a mana, and you have 1, 2, 3 red and 2 yellow. So be wary of what mana you're using with your cards here. So I think I want to use this, and then I'm going to attack this one with 2 energy, which we get to do 10 damage with, so that's nice. I think I just exiled the card. Oh, it exiled the second card. I see what happened there. Okay, that's not bad. And with no mana, you can't do anything else, so you just have to end your turn and let the enemy go. The crow adds a card. The crow tries to attack. We block it, so we're perfectly fine. And you see now this crow is trying to attack with 10 attack, and then this crow wants to add a status card, which the status card is sent to the discard. And status cards are annoying. They can do all sorts of things. The birds are kind of annoying because they add cards that cost mana to use. But it's cost mana to get rid of them, so that's the only way to get rid of them. So yeah, that's kind of annoying. But to deal with this crow here, I think we're going to use this because it'll do 7 damage 2 times, but it'll apply 1 weak. Which weak is pretty useful to cast. It does 30% less damage until the end of this turn. And this stacks, so they can do a couple of times, and it'll do 30% less damage. So now it's only going to do 7 damage. But I don't think I want to end there. I'm going to do 10 damage here, and 5 damage here. And there we go. So now, with our rare exhibit, every time we defeat an enemy, we gain 1 firepower and 3 life. If we get damage, we can heal it up, and when we get firepower, our damage does more. So, with no other mana, we have to end turn, and then the enemy does its thing, which adds 2 different cards, and now we draw again. When you run out of cards in the deck, the discard pile shuffles into the deck, and then you draw until you're able to do it again. Now, this is annoying, because we can't attack. We didn't draw any attack cards. So, instead, I'm just going to exile you, and I guess I'll add block, for the heck of it. And I'll just end turn. Every time you end turn, your leftover mana goes away. So, it's a good idea to use up all the mana you got, if you're able to. As a heads up for that one. So Graze is due to dodge an attack. So the next 2 attacks we're going to do to it, it won't damage it. So if you use Yokai Buster, it does 0 damage. He still gets affected by weak though, so it can't dodge that. There are ways for him to dodge stat effects, so yeah, that's a bit annoying. But we do what we can. Anyway, to make sure we don't take damage, we'll get 10 block, we'll end turn here. The crow tries to attack, we block it, and then we draw, and we get enough to do this, and this. And that's battle done. Every battle you get a reward of money and a card. Some boss battles will give you more, but we'll get to that when we get there. So these are all pretty good cards. I personally am fond of meditation, because meditation is pretty useful. So we're going to add that one. Now, with that said, we add on to the next card. A lot of fights in the first act here are going to be really simple, so this is going to be pretty quick as we blaze through this. So let's go ahead and use this, and let's... You know what? No, hold on. Let's actually see what we get from meditation. Choose one of 3 cards to add to the hand. It temporarily costs 0, it has exile and ethereal, which we'll show that in a minute here. So out of the 3 cards here, they're all pretty good, but I think I want Yokai Buster, because Yokai Buster, if it costs 0, and with the effect of Evil Extermination, I can attack you, knock you out, because I do 14 damage, and activates again, and knocks out you. And because we knocked out 2 enemies, we get 2 firepower, so now this does 12 damage. So now you can go away as well. That worked out incredibly well. You will see a lot of stuff like that happening in a game like this, where things just really fall into place, but you gotta make sure you know what you're doing. This game is all about knowing how to approach a situation. When do you block? When do you attack? When do you graze? When do you try and bunker down? How much money can you spend? How much money can you save? All that is about awareness of how you're able to proceed with the next turn, and how you have to think about 2 to 3 turns ahead to get the results that you want. Alright, so with that said, let's see what our first event is. Game Boy Advance is the best portable console. I won't let you badmouth Nintendo. A company that can't even understand the concept of the metaverse, it's as lousy as your expo. I have no idea what they're fighting over, but if they continue to fight, the thief might use the chaos to get away. Well, we're hot on the trail, so we gotta find out the way to stop this. So, you can either help either one of them, you'll lose certain life, but you'll gain a exhibit, or you can just do nothing. A lot of times people don't want to lose life, so I don't think they want to do anything. But both of these are actually pretty good. It's worth, it's worth getting one of these exhibits, because we're going to kill a couple more enemies, and we're going to get life back anyway. So we'll be pretty good there. Now, help Boku, you get a lighter. Deal damage for the first time, apply vulnerable, which vulnerable is really good. Or the Kinkakuji amulet, say that 2 times fast, which the first time you get a debuff, you get 10 barrier, which is actually pretty good. Both are actually good in their own way, but because I want to focus on defense, I kind of like getting the amulet more, but just because I want to show off, and because I think Kaguya needs a good punch to the face. Don't fight anymore. I heard the Moneyverse technology can bring in a lot of wealth. Yeah, she deserves that little bump on the head. As one of my people, well, ain't that a little bit misogynistic to say? Oh well. Alright, so 40 money. That's still not enough to get anything going. So I think we're just going to go ahead and fight our first boss. So each act will have 3 bosses, like I said. And our first boss here is Orin. Rin. They call him Rin, but I always call her Orin. I don't know why. It's just kind of a force of habit, I guess. So Orin. This is going to be interesting. So she plans to summon reinforcements. There are characters that are going to summon more monsters, and you have to take care of them as soon as you can. So we're going to have to deal with that as soon as we can. So because we have the Eliter, we do our first point of damage, and she is affected with Vulnerable. Vulnerable, they take 50% more damage. So 10 damage turns into 15. And 5 turns to 8. But as well, Fantasy Seal, 15 damage 3 times, changes 45 damage to 69. And I think that's a pretty good time to use that spell card. But we don't have enough to finish her off, so she's going to go ahead and summon these Vengeful Spirits. Vengeful Spirits are probably one of the more annoying creatures to run into, especially in the first act. Vengeful Spirits, they do status effects, which these are debuffs. They're going to debuff you in some way. They do damage, and when they explode, they automatically do certain damage. What's worse with Odin here, her gimmick, she explodes them intentionally, and those do double damage. So if she explodes the green one here, 6 damage becomes 12. That is rough, and we don't want to handle that one. So in this turn, we can probably just bunker down and just gain more block. Or let's see if this can bring us something good. I say Yokai Buster is a good one, because with Yokai Buster, we just finish Odin off. Just like that. And because the creatures were summoned by her, because we defeated Odin, the summoned monsters go away as well. So that's pretty useful. Now, as long as being the boss, you get more money, but you also get a new exhibit. In this case, we have computer parts. Drinking tea at a gap also grants 50 points, which is not bad, but it's not one of the better ones. Now, the cards, on the other hand, getting Graze is okay. Temporary Spirit isn't terrible. Spirit helps you raise your defense more. So, say if you have 2 Temporary Spirit, 10 defense turns to 12. But this one, Full Moon Howl. If you get the Touhou, you are good. Because Full Moon Howl is applying 3 temporary firepower down, which makes their attack do 3 points of damage less each. And are vulnerable to each enemy. This is probably one of the most popular common cards you can get in the game. I personally think it's one of the best ones. So, yeah, that's a pretty good one. Now, with that said, we get to our first intersection, and now we have to choose which boss to fight. Notice the number of attendees also looking for the culprit, just like her. Who do you think might have a culprit? Might have a clue to the culprit? So we're just deciding on who do we think has a clue, and this could be any one of them at this point. Now, you can choose between a random opponent and gain 30 points of power, which I personally do a lot because I like having power to get more spell cards. Out of the 3 here, Marissa is usually the easiest boss, first act boss to defeat. So I'm going to show off what Marissa is going to be like here in this situation. So now if we go forward, and then we skip to the end here, you see that's Marissa now. So yeah, that's going to be fun to handle. Alright, so now let's see this one here. We have 77 money, but it's still not quite enough to do good at the shop. So instead, let's go this way and do our next event. Skewers, come have a taste! So this event is pretty simple. Get a grilled lamprey, restore 22 life. Get grilled mushrooms, gain 49 power, or just don't do anything. Again, I like having power to gain more powerful spells. So yes, mushroom skewer it is. I think both options, if you buy for both food, is 30 money. Is that too much money? Nah, I think I can afford some chump change. This time around, at least. Okay, so this enemy, this doll, and this rabbit. This is essentially Terry in this situation, but yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. Alright, so let's see here. Both are pretty good, but Pagoda's Glare is pretty powerful. It costs 3 mana normally, so getting this and having it cost 0 is pretty good. So it costs 0 to do 15 damage to each enemy, and it upgrades 2 of the cards. And now they both have vulnerable as well, so yeah, more damage. Now, so we do this, we can activate this twice. Do I need to? I think I do. So we're going to go ahead and use Evil Exterminate. And then we're going to use Yokai Buster on you, because you're the one that's actually going to damage me. Also, it does 3 damage 3 times now, not just twice. So that's another reason you want to upgrade it. We do get poison from it, but if we do defeat the Trickster here, we'll be fine. I know much about the culprit. Oh, do you? But you want 40 money. The Trickster immediately leaves. Yeah, I'm not buying your scam. I'm not buying your scam for money. Get out of here with that crap. And nothing else I can do here, so we just end turn. Why am I the only one left? Useless idiots. Oh, she got a mouth on her, that's for sure. Okay, so if you do this, you know what? Sure, we use this because there's no real harm in using a card that has Exile, because you're going to get that card back into the deck anyway. Exile essentially is just puts the card out of the game, out of the round at least, so you can't get it back when you reshuffle the deck. You just use it once and that's it. Cards with Ethereal, then, if you don't play that card just gets exiled right away. So you have to use it, otherwise you're just gonna get no use out of it. Some of them do have Exile and Ethereal, but they cost 0 mana, so you know, no harm, no foul. Alright, in the meantime though, shoot and shoot. Eat it. Eat it, you little trickster. Alright, let's see. If we get firepower, I think this dual card would be pretty good. 67 is still not really quite enough, so we're gonna go to Yukari here, who is looking really pretty. Like, that is the prettiest Yukari I've seen in a while. So we start with Yukari. You have 2 options. Drink tea to gain your life back, and since we have the computer parts, we get 50 power back, or upgrade a card in the library, which, if you want to upgrade a card, it can be more powerful. Like Meditation, you don't just choose 1 of 3 random cards now. Now, when you use it the first time, you get Radiance, which gives you more mana back. This is essentially telling you that this is free. And I say that's a pretty damn good upgrade to have. So I'm going to use Meditation to get upgrade first. I do love this art here. I do really love this art here. It's really pretty. The artists who made this game, like, they don't get enough credit for how pretty they make things. I don't think they get enough credit for it. Also, I see that blink. I see that blink. Don't think I don't notice. Nice little details like that really just bring the image to life, I think. Alright, so that's Yukari's gap there. And if we're lucky, we may get enough money to stop by the shop and see what that's like. So, let's beat our second boss. This is going to be a bit tough. Aya, so her gimmick is that she stuffs your discard pile with a bunch of status cards, and she starts with Grays. She has to start with Grays, and she starts it every turn. This is one of the more annoying bosses in the start, so we're gonna have a hard time with this one. So let's see what we can do here. There's not really much I can do. Instead, I think I'm just going to go ahead and activate a spell card, because it has Accurate. Accurate means you don't have to worry about Grays. great. Accurate will always hit the target, even if they have grays on. So, yeah, that's pretty good. I'll use Celestial Fight to gain more mana, because I need more mana to do this. We'll use Yokai Buster to do some damage. We'll use Hacker Amulet to deal more damage. And we'll use the Duel to gain Block and Reflection. So Block is interesting. Block is your damage reducer, but when you end your turn and the turn is over, when it comes your turn again, the block goes away. Reflection does not. When Reimu is attacked, you deal 12 damage back to the attacker, and then remove the status. So this is actually pretty dang good, especially when you're using it against something like Aya, because Grace does not dodge Reflection. So yeah, that's pretty useful. Alright, nothing else to do, we end turn. And now she intends to attack us twice for 9 damage, so she's intending to do 18 points of damage. Let's see if we can dodge that. So, cards like these, so I'm going to show this here. This card is glowing. It means it has its debut activated. So, when you use it the first time, debut is up there. So, debut means it'll do its thing on the first turn, the first time it's activated in combat. When we get it again and it shuffles again in the same combat, it doesn't have Radiance. So, it's only a one-time thing. Now, with that said, Wild Exorcism Dance sounds like a fun time. We get Radiance because why not? But Exorcism Dance should be fine. 8 damage 3 times. Well, guess what? 1 to dodge, 2 to hit. Pretty simple. Oh, and look at that. She drops her wings. That's kind of... I don't know how I feel about that. I think we just took Aya's wings. Maybe they're the crow's wings that we just beat before? That's still kind of grim. I don't think we need to sit on that for too long. Yeah, we're not going to sit on that for too long, so yeah. Let's see. Let's do Fist of the Hakure, because I like to punch things. Okay, so Crow's Tengu Wings. Reimu may ignore paths when choosing the next level, up to 3 times. At the start of Reimu's first turn each combat, gain a grace. So now we have grace at every first turn, so that'd be nice. It's just for the first, turn, but that's pretty useful. Alright, so with that done, we finally move on to Raisin. Thank you for your hard work. Master told me to provide you with some supplies. You have either the magic book or the glasses. Okay, so this isn't bad, but it's not good either. So with Raisin, you visit her in every act, and she'll give you an option of 1 or 2. In this first time going through, you would want to get the high-tech glasses pretty much every time, for reasons we'll get into later. So when you see the second exhibit here and you can't get it, it kind of sucks, especially if you get a really good one. But you just gotta do with what you got here. So for this thing, just to show what happens later, we're gonna get the high-tech glasses. Well, thank you, Raisin, but why aren't you going after the culprit? Why do you think you're here? Don't change, Raisin. Please don't change. You're too cute to leave alone. Alright, so 107 money. That should be enough to do something at the shop. So we're gonna go up this time. And run into this black fairy. Dressed in black. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. So, the Black Fairy intends to attack, and it's just an attack. But thanks to Grace, we can block it. So we don't have to worry about putting up a block for this one this time. Alright, so, let's do this. This seems like a good idea, because we can do this, and then we're gonna do this. Attack twice, and then attack twice again. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and use Radiance so that we can do 10 damage. We're going to use a red and a yellow so that we can do this. So that we have a red and a yellow to do this again. And now it only has 10 HP. So that's going to be pretty useful. Now it tries to attack us, so it's not going to do anything, so that's fine. If we use Okai Buster, we use attack twice. And yeah, we are looking good. We are going through this pretty well, actually. Ooh, we can have our own now. You know what? Sure. That actually does pretty good damage, and it's worth the 2 lives missing. So now that we have the Tingle Wing, we can go to either one of these if we really want to. But we're going to say that for the next few acts we're going to run into. So let's go to the next... Jeez, what am I calling it? Event. Next event. Jesus, I could not think of the word for a second there. Out of the way! Well, that seems dangerous. So, do we stop her by crashing into her, or do we try and, you know, dodge it? If you dodge it, you're losing 37 power, but if you crash into it, you lose 20 life, but you gain a lot of money. Considering we're just about to go to a shop, I think it's a good idea to go ahead and crash. Nah. Don't you even know how to drive? So she just gave us money to cover the medical expense. Where does Reimu get all the money for that? That's 150 gil. Is that like $150 or is that $1.50? And no matter what case you're looking at that, that's kind of bad. Like, no matter how you look at that, it's kind of bad. But with that said, we got plenty of money now, so it's off to the shop. So the shop here, Takane here, tries to sell you some stuff. You click on her, and she shows you what she's got here. So, let's see here. There's a lot to decide here. She gives you like 8 cards to choose from. Any of them can be like rares or commons or uncommons, blah blah. She gives you 2 tool options. We could do like boost buffs or draw 3 cards. She can give you a random exhibit. Out of the 3, you could buy one of these here and they do things, which is fun. Or you can also do a card service where you can just remove a card from your library, which what's it? Increases 25 money for each use. Oh, okay. So it's not just 50 coins each. Okay, I know that for next time. I usually like to upgrade my cards before I get any cards, so that's pretty useful. I personally like to do Evil Exterminate a lot, but it's in this turn. I don't know how useful that is if I don't have 2 attack cards in the hand. Full Moon Howl, meanwhile, adds a second vulnerability, which means vulnerability lasts for 2 turns. That's pretty good. I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with that, especially if it does it to every enemy. So it's pretty useful. Now let's see. I kind of like this one because Divine Favor is pretty useful. It adds 3 Divine Favor, and Divine Favor is essentially your first attack or your first defense adds 3 points. So if it does 10 damage, it does 13 for that one attack in that first turn. And she gets this at the start of every turn. And I kind of like that. It's also marked down 50%, so it's $71 cheaper. I'll go ahead and grab it. I kind of like it. I do like this one a lot. Now, with the 174 months left, I think we need some defense, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the Talisman. And I do want to get Clean Energy because it's a 0 cost card, but you gain 5 block and you draw a card. It's 5 free block, essentially, for every turn you get this card. And it's pretty useful. I just don't think it's useful enough. Not for what we're planning here. So, I don't know. I don't think I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I think I'm actually good. I don't think I need any more of what I could get from this one. So, we're going to leave that for now. Now, that said, we move on to our third boss of Act 1, which is the 3 fairies. Show Reimu just how powerful we really are. Wahaha. So, 3 enemies here. Ew, that's kind of rough. Well, we're gonna try and make this easier for us then, by getting rid of one of them right away. So, if we use Divine Favor, or we use the Providence to gain 3 Divine Favor, we can go ahead and use Fantasy Seal to do 18 damage 3 times. And that'll get rid of at least one of them. Personally, I kind of want to get rid of Star. Star is kind of the more annoying one out of the 3. All 3 of them have a very bad gimmick, depending if they get to use their spell cards or not. So it just depends, I guess. For this sake, I think I'm going to go ahead and get blocked, just so I can get Reflection up. And end the turn there. Now, Sunny's spell card is add Sunlight cards. And every other turn, they also add another card to the status. So essentially with the fairies here, they can add a status card or do attacks. So you're doing this while handling 2, 3 fairies at once. This can get kind of rough if you're not knowing how to handle it. So let's see here. Let's add you. Get Radiance up there, just so we can use this to gain some more attack. And let's see... yeah, let's see where this goes. Alright, vulnerability is pretty good. Do 17 damage. I can at least do enough to get rid of you. So, we get rid of you. Then we can gain a block, which adds a Kami Aura, which is just a free guard you can get. And it retains, so that's pretty good. Retain means you keep it in your hand for as long as you can, depending on if it retains for 1 turn or multiple turns. Retain usually means just don't discard it for the end of the turn. So if we use Shoot, and we end turn, we lose a mana, but our card doesn't get shuffled into the discard. So that's pretty useful. Yeah, go Awu. Just so we can do more damage. Why not? Yeah, the Awu is pretty fun, pretty powerful. Alright, so we get Cell Phone. Start at every turn. Gain 2 extra cards. Draw 2 more cards per turn. Alright, that's not bad. I do need more block. Let's do that one. That was actually a pretty good block card, but you just need the mana for it. Alright, so let's upgrade and... I kind of like having more Divine Favor to have more block or more damage. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that then. And thus, we get to the end of the act and we fight our first boss, which we chose Marissa. So, Marissa's gimmick. She has 2 things that she can do to you. Lots of damage and lots of it. Her gimmick is that she can copy your firepower. So if you gain temporary firepower or regular firepower, she copies it. So if you gain firepower, she gains firepower. She's a little rough if you start doing that kind of shenanigans right away. So you need to watch yourselves if you're going to go that route. But since we're not, we should be good. Alright, so let's do a Howl. Let us do a Yokai Buster. Let us do more damage. And we're grazing. Yeah, I was going to do more damage. So she has a 240 HP, so she's actually kind of rough to try and get through. 12 damage and a graze. This is where she's starting to get a little more annoying. Well, we get more divine flavor. We can get more defense this way. I would use Evil Exterminate, but I don't have any more attack cards, so we're just going to end turn there. So with 12 damage, we block that, and she gains 2 graze. So now she has graze. But we have the fist. Do 50 damage, it's accurate, and increases by 4 damage for every firepower. So I think this normally does 30, but because we have 5, we're doing 50 now. So eat this! Also, we was weak, so that was 75 points of damage in one card. That's the kind of firepower you can get with some of these cards. It's nuts. And there are still ways you can be much more powerful. So yeah, it's pretty fun. Alright, so meditation, add a card. Ward would be good, but I don't think she does any statuses to you. So I think we're just gonna go do the base of Taiko, which is 18 damage to each enemy, which isn't bad. We use this to gain that. We use this to attack damage. We'll do this to add reflection. And yep, that's a good turn. She adds more statuses to the discard pile, so when we shuffle, she's gonna add more. Now this is interesting here. She's charging, so she's doing a turn of doing nothing. But she will get her spell card in the next turn. So we should probably try and stop that, or at least stop her before she gets to that point. So let's see what we can do here. We do 12 damage here, and then we do 10 damage there. Yeah. We do take 10 damage from reflected sunlight, sadly, because each one does 5 damage to us. So that's rough. So she's charging. Because of this aura here, this spell card is accurate. We cannot graze it. So we're kind of in a pickle here. Thankfully for us, we have the Fist of the Hakare, 50 damage. So guess what? You're done, son! I love it when a plan comes together. So, when you defeat a boss, you gain 100 points, and you get to choose between 3 shining exhibits to take. You get 2 random ones, and then 1 from the character themselves. When you choose this one, you unlock their card pool. So if they had a card that can use black, white, and red, you will gain the ability to get those cards as well. It's pretty fun when you actually get a chance to, use this effect. Now, the exhibits we can choose is Dark Grimoire. At the start of the player's first turn, add an Occult, which is 2 Dark Energy, which is not bad. We have Ice Scale, add a blue to the mana base. After an ability card is played, 2 random cards in the hand cost 1 cost less, which is pretty good. And then Oni Sake Dish, add a red to the base. At the start of the player's turn, gain temporary firepower equal to the number of attack cards played this turn. I kind of like some of the blue cards that Reimu has. But I kind of like the idea I can just go ahead and just get some Marissa cards. Because some of the fun in this game is that you get to use other characters' cards instead of just your own. So it's pretty fun. I think because we just want to show off what else Reimu can do, I'm going to go ahead and grab a blue. And yeah, we'll see how that prepares for us. So when you beat the boss, you gain a lot more money. You get to add a card to the hand, which the boss will always give you a rare card. So that's pretty good. these aren't necessarily good. I already have one of these, but you know what? I think we can get away with that one for now. And then prepare. You can go ahead and just remove a card. You can add select basic or misfortune cards. Misfortune cards we'll get to when we find a chance to show that off later. So you can go ahead and choose a card from here to remove if you think your deck is full and you need to get to other cards later, blah blah blah. I think I am perfectly fine with what I got here. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for that one. And I think that would do it for our first run of this run. There was a lot to explain in this one, especially for those who have not played this game before, but trust me, we will be speeding things up when we actually get going. Don't worry, things go a lot faster from here on. So yeah, we're looking forward to that one. So next time then, we continue our journey to find out who is behind the missing exhibits of this night of shenanigans. So with that said, this is Kibatu. And until we find the culprit, goodbye to you. Laters.